I've been watching copywriters for 5 years as a conversion architect, and there's something disturbing that caught my attention. The ones that are making 30K a year and the ones that are making 300K a year have identical skill sets. They have the same portfolios, the same results, and the same outcomes for clients. The 30K copywriters just write copy. The 300K ones engineer conversions. They have the same skills, they're in the same market, but the income capacity is 10 times different. And the reason is that copywriters own words, but conversion architects own systems. Right now, I'm going to break down my 3-step engineering process that creates this income difference. And I'm going to explain to you why mastering it will help you make the shift from $2,000 per project copywriter to $20K per project conversion architect. Let's dive in. This is my personal 3-step system that I use to create and write world-class copy. So the main problems that amateur copywriters have when it goes to writing their copy is that they don't have a system for it, that they're hoping, okay? They're looking at some sort of framework or someone else's piece of copy and they're saying, how can I replicate that for what I'm doing? And they're missing layers of context that needs to go into it to get the copy to convert. Okay, so many times the amateur approach is going to look like this. They're going to open a blank document, they're going to have some sort of idea, and they're just going to start writing it out and being like, oh, I think this looks really good and this feels really good, but that subjectivity doesn't matter. What matters is what the market thinks about it. They're going to add more features and different things to it if it doesn't convert well, and that's going to be based on guesswork too, and they're going to rely on this talent and this intuition alone, and then they're going to be like, why the hell isn't this working? And they're not going to have any solution for that problem. Okay. So the reality here is that while that's the process of amateur copywriters, pros don't start with the words. They engineer based on what their outcome is. So they start with the outcome in mind, and then they reverse engineer their copy so that they can create it to achieve that outcome. Okay. The reason that all of this matters is that whilst talented amateurs can produce some results, they're inconsistent. Okay? When you have a system in place, you can replicate. When you have a system in place, you can replicate consistent conversions and results for yourself, which is going to have a knock-on effect and create momentum with clients. Okay? So this is the system. As I said, 3 steps. Okay? The first one is what I call the conversion equation. This is all about reverse engineering from the goal. So instead of taking the normal process, which is starting with a blank page and just writing and hoping for the best, what we're going to do is identify what is the intent of this piece of copy that I'm writing. Okay, what is it that I want it to do? So the first step is that you define what your target is. So if you're writing a sales page, what is the target conversion rate? If you're writing an email sequence, what's the open rate and what's the click rate that you're aiming for? If you are writing an advertisement, what's the cost per click that we're looking for here to get traffic across to the landing page or the sales page or whatever the next step of the funnel is. Okay, so you are starting with that conversion event in mind. This is what I'm aiming for. The next step is identifying who you're writing to. And I love to use the stages of awareness for this. So am I writing to a problem-aware, unaware audience, so someone that's completely unaware? Am I writing to a problem-aware audience, so someone who knows they have a problem but they don't know that a solution exists? Someone who's solution-aware, so they know that a solution exists but not your solution. Someone who's product aware, so they know about your product but they're on the fence and they're not yet sure if it's for them. And then someone who's most aware, who's like, I'm ready to buy right now, I just want the best offer and I'm going to take it. So depending on who I'm writing to, my hook, my headline, my subject line, and the body of my copy is going to be different. Because for a different stage of awareness, people need to see and read different things. Then what I go to is, what is the belief shift that I'm looking for this to happen? Because copywriting is all about a belief shift at the core fundamental level. I need to align with a belief that my reader currently has so I can enter the conversation that's in their mind and I can resonate with them. And then I need to stretch that belief enough to include this new belief that I want them to have, which is going to get them to take the action that I want them to take. Okay, this is bridging that gap. If I stretch that belief too far, then I'm going to lose them and they're not going to believe me and be like, this is absolute BS. And if I don't stretch it enough, then there's not going to be a change cause that's needed for them to take action. Okay, so what do they currently believe that I'm going to align with? What do I need to get them to believe to convert? And then how can I write my copy to bridge that gap? What are all the different things that I can say and use, different proof, different testimonials, different stories, to show them that this is possible for them because it's been possible for other people too. And I want it to make it seem easy to them, super fast, super simple, make it straightforward and have them go, oh, I can do that. Okay. And the final thing is I want to look at what emotion am I going to elicit? What's the one aroused emotion that I'm going to focus on targeting? Because I want it to be an aroused emotion, because if it's an unaroused one, like they're happy or they're content, they're not going to take action. And if they're like really, really scared, or if they're angry, they're not going to take action either, because they're not emotional states where we do decide to make a change. Okay, so here's an example. Okay? I need to get a 10% conversion rate on cold traffic for this productivity course that I'm writing. So cold traffic is coming across to my sales page. I need to convert 10% of it. Okay, that's my goal. I know that the stage of awareness, because they're cold, is that they're either going to be unaware or they're going to be problem aware. Okay, but they have no idea about me, no idea about the solution, no idea about the product. So I'm writing to that audience. The belief that they currently have is that I don't have time to learn productivity systems. I'm too busy. I don't have what it takes. I'm not a good learner. They're the beliefs. The belief that I want them to have is that I can't not afford to use this and have this. Okay, this is going to make my life so much simpler, and my life is going to be worse if I don't take action. The bridge is I'm going to show them the cost of inaction. So if they don't do it, what does life look like for them on the other side? Okay, we're going to future pace them to this is what life's going to look like if you don't use this and you know that you want to and you need to. Okay? And the fear that I will play on is that continued inefficiency, but then also shift that into excitement about the time that they're going to have back and what they're going to be able to do with that time. Okay? So the result of all of this is the copy is going to flow. It's going to move readers from where they currently are to where they need to be, and it's going to have all of the pieces in there that's going to create that shift for them. Okay? So that's step one. The next step is I'm going to look at what is my actual angle. Okay? What am I going to use to get this message across? Okay? So most copy tries to address everything, and it becomes word salad. Here we're using and applying the rule of one. We want the reader to be focused on one thing and one thing only, so that we can go a mile deep and an inch wide instead of going a mile wide and only an inch deep. Because if we go a mile wide and only an inch deep, we're not going to resonate, we're not going to polarize, and we're not going to magnetize. We're going to touch on too many things. Okay? So we're going to identify one angle and we are going to hammer it home. So the first step here is that you want to list out all the potential objections. Okay? What are they going to say about why this won't work? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on 3 of those that are most compelling. These are the biggest ones. Okay? And I'm going to hint at those 3 throughout my copy, and they're going to be the focus point. Okay? Then I'm going to identify the belief that is currently blocking them, this limiting belief. So which objection, if resolved, is going to eliminate all others? That becomes the focus, and the other 2 get included in there as support. Okay? What's the foundational belief that's preventing conversion on the current page? What bridge are we not crossing, and what gap are we not closing? Okay? And then I want to highlight the assumptions that they're making that are wrong. And then I'm going to prove that they're wrong and that another option exists for them. Okay? So this is all forming my angle. This is me going a little bit deeper into what the copy is going to look like before I've even written it. Okay? And now how do I want to engineer that belief shift? Okay? What proof do I have? Okay? How can I address the old belief straight up? What's the best thing that I can say to really hit it and hook it? Okay? To create and start the shift change. And then I'm going to build everything around this transformation from here, current belief, to new belief. And I have all the objections that are going to come up, and I have all the proof that I need to handle those objections, and I'm going to help make that transition inside of my copy. So I've got all of these different resources now, all of these different ideas down on paper that I can use to write the copy when it becomes time. Yep. So real example, a high-end copywriting course. The blocking belief is I need more experience before investing in this sort of training, but the engineered shift is that, hey, the right training is actually going to help me develop and progress faster, because experience is what creates the expertise. Okay? So when doing that, the price becomes irrelevant. They go, oh, if I invest this now, I could make $300,000 back on it in the future because I'm creating better results for clients due to my copy. Okay? Time concern completely disappears because we'd include some urgency into it as well. Okay? If you put off doing this now, you're going to be in the same place in 6 or 12 months' time. Your copy is going to be the same. Your clientele is going to be the same. They're going to be unhappy, and you're going to struggle to get new clients because you're not going to have the results there to show what you are capable of when it comes to generating revenue and results. Okay? And competitor comparisons are going to become meaningless because we're going to create a new, unique position about why this high-end copywriting course is different from others. Okay? So now I have all of these resources that are laser focused that are going to allow me to go and start writing. Okay? And step 3, when I do go and start writing, I give myself constraints. Why? Because it simplifies everything. We don't want freedom because then we've got this big, vast canvas with no boundaries that we're trying to work inside of, where the constraints allow us to focus. Okay? They allow us to get specific, and that specificity is what creates compelling, resonating, and magnetic copy. So the constraints that I create for myself is I'm only going to focus on 3 points. That's it, the power of 3. This is going to help me prioritize what's most important. It's going to prevent information overload on the reader and that word salad effect of them going, well, I don't actually know what this is about. And it's going to help create memorable copy. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is include one story, and that's it. So what is the most compelling story that I can tell here to help make that belief shift in the reader? And then I might tease, if there's good other testimonials and stories, I might just tease them and be like, and this happened for X, and this happened for Y, and this happened for Z. But what is the big story that I'm focusing on and I'm going to tell? Then what is my emotion? Again, I'm going to highlight it here. What emotion am I focusing on? I'm going to reiterate it to myself so that I remind myself this is the emotion that I'm looking to elicit and create a change from. And then what's my one call to action? The only one thing that I want them to do. I'm going to make it simple, I'm going to make it clear, I'm going to make it compelling, and I'm going to make it so straightforward for them that there's no decision-making process that needs to happen. It's either I do this or I close the page. Okay? As I said, the reason that these constraints work, it forces clarity. You have to focus on these 3 things and nail them. You have to focus on these things and execute them to the best of your ability, and that's going to create better copy because there's less in it, and this is an instance where less is more. Okay? It eliminates confusion on the reader's part, which means that you're not going to fall into the trap of a confused mind says no every time. You're going to continually engage them and keep them reading. Okay? It definitely increases conversions on the back end because all of these pieces come together to work for you. And it speeds up creation because you've got everything there and it's like, okay, this is now what I'm going to focus on. I know what I'm doing. I know where my attention is going. So now I'm going to write. Okay? So as an example, this is the constraint engineering process. The product was an email marketing software. The constraint was I gave myself 3 points to explain the entire value prop. What I found was that they can send emails that people actually want to open using AI to create subject lines based on open rates in the past. They're going to be able to track exactly which emails make them money because of the segmentation that's involved in it. And they're going to be able to automate the follow-up based on the segmentation and which emails people had opened so they get more emails like those things. Okay, that's what I want to focus on with the product because they're high value. The story was that there was a SaaS company that used this. They had an email list of 10,000 people on their free tier and they wanted to convert those across to their paid tier. Okay, using this new product, they were able to create a strategic 10-part email sequence with tracking, with personalization, and with segmentation in a few days. Okay, that client turned 3,128 of those freemium people across to the paid people, and they generated an additional $469,250 in annual recurring revenue because they sold a $150 yearly option. That's the story that I'm going to use to get people who are interested in this product to see what is possible for them. The emotion, I want to agitate them. I want them to focus on how much money they're potentially leaving on the table because they're not using this product. And the CTA is that they can test it risk-free for 30 days. Okay? The result was that when it came to the landing page for this, it was clear, it was memorable, there was actionable messaging, and it converted because it focused on these key things that the reader of it found compelling and resonated with deeply. Okay? So this is a real example of it. I had a SaaS client. They had a conversion rate of 2% on their landing page. Okay, they were driving traffic to it that was cold traffic from Google Ads. They had a $200 average order value, and they needed 8%, so a 4 times increase in order for these ads to be profitable. So my step one, my audience awareness, they were solution aware because it's Google Ads. They're searching for it. It's intent-based buying. So I knew that they were already in the market and looking for something like this. The belief that they had was that all of these things are the same. Okay? So which one should I choose? Am I going to go on price? Am I going to go on features? Like, these are all the same to me. Why should I choose this one over the other? What I wanted them to see that this was the tool that solved their specific problems more than others. And I wanted them to feel relief that they'd finally found what it was that they were looking for. Okay, so the Angle, I've tried project management tools in the past, and they've just never stuck. Okay, I never keep using them. I don't see value from them. Okay, and I'm going to help them see that it's not because of you. It was because of the tool that you were using. Because they didn't have this, they didn't have this, they did this, which caused this. So I'm going to get them to go, okay, it's not my fault. That's good to know. I like knowing that. It's not my fault, it's something or somebody else's. Thank you, you've let me off the hook. Okay? And then the constraints that I put into place, my 3 key points, where other tools force you to change your workflow. This tool adapts to how you already work, so there's no change or effort needed on your part, and you can see results within a day, not within a month. Okay? Story, the founder who created the SaaS product, the emotion, that relief, and then validating the choice that they're about to make. And the CTA was a 14-day trial. We bumped conversion rate to 12%, no new ad spend, no extra traffic. Okay? Just because the messaging on the page changed, we saw that bump in conversion because the copy engineering process eliminated guesswork. We analyzed the current landing page, said these are the reasons that it's not converting. Here's the new copy that we're going to put in place because of the step 1 that I went through, the Angle Audit, and then step 3 of giving myself constraints. Okay? So the difference of when you do this, the amateur, as we said, they open a blank document, they write based on gut feeling, they then add the features and turn them into benefits, and they hope it converts, and then they go, it's not converting, what am I going to test? Well, I don't know, I think that I'm going to test this, and they'll change multiple things when you only really want to change one thing at a time, so you know if that change made a difference, and then they sit there and they go, it's not working, and the client's asking me why, I go, I don't know. It's the amateur approach. Okay? The pro approach is I'm going to engineer my conversion event, I'm going to look at what beliefs I need to shift. I'm going to apply my constraints and find my 3 key points, my 1 story, my 1 emotion, my 1 call to action. I'm then going to engineer my copy based on that. I'm going to see what the data gives me back, and I'm going to test strategic variations of 1 thing only at a time. And that's going to create predictable outcomes and results because I'm basing things off data and what the data is telling me about the copy, not what I think about the copy. So what that looks like when it comes to the actual input process is that amateurs only spend about 20% planning, and then they'll spend 80% writing and editing. Okay? What that does is it just means that you're hoping that things are going to work. The professional plans and engineers 60% of the time. They then write it and ship it and get it out there, and then they optimize it based on the data. Okay? So instead of inconsistent results, lots of revisions, unpredictable outcomes, you get predictable results, minimal revisions because you know what you're going to test based on the data, and then you're going to get systematic improvements because we know, hey, my cost per click is still high on these ads, so I need to invite the click more, so I'm going to make the copy more compelling. Hey, these emails aren't getting open still, so we need to do better with the subject lines, but they're getting clicked, so our click rates, our call to actions in the emails are actually really good. Okay, so we optimize based on data. The mindset that you need to take when you do this is you want to question everything. Okay, you want to get pieces of paper that have so much thinking through it and so much information that you can work back through it to really create a small substance of powerful information when you go and write the copy. It's not just writing the copy first. The majority of the work where the copy gets written is in this planning and this thinking and this engineering process, which makes the writing of the copy so much more efficient and so much more effective. So question everything first. Why is someone going to convert? What's preventing them from that? What belief shift needs to happen? What emotional state do they need to be in to take that action? We want to systematize everything so that we can repeat it in the future. We then become more efficient and more effective, which means that clients get better results and we can work with more clients because we're working faster. We want to measure everything. So we know what's working. There we go. Clients what's working and what's not working, and then say, okay, this isn't working right now, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Clients love that. That's the conviction, the expertise, the authority coming through. Okay, I'm going to measure what belief shifts are actually working so that I can use them more in the future. What emotional responses are working so I can focus on them more in the future. Okay, what systematic improvements are making the changes. I'm noticing that when I test the headline first on a landing page that doesn't convert, that creates good changes. So that's going to be the first thing I always test on a landing page if it's not converting. Okay? And then you're going to engineer it before writing. I want you to spend more time planning and thinking things through before writing a single word. Okay? I want you to solve the conversion problem before you start your own writing and get into these writing problems that you're experiencing. So step 1, audit your current copy. Go back to the last 3 pieces of copy that you wrote and identify what conversion goal were you actually working towards, and did you achieve that? What belief shift were you trying to create? Okay, did you even think about it? Did you apply any constraints? Did it convert? Yes, why? If you don't know, figure it out. And if it didn't, figure it out. Okay? Then the next step, when you go to write your next piece of copy, before you do anything, go through this 3-step process. Okay? And the third one is to then test it. Test your own process that you're putting in place. So A/B split test, copy that you just write intuitively versus copy that you engineer. Track the conversion improvements that you see so that you create this body of work that you can show future clients. Okay? Refine your process so that it becomes more efficient and more effective, and document it so that you can just open up a Google Doc and you can get to work regardless of what you're writing about or who you're writing for. So this is going to give you predictable results. It's going to give you faster creation. It's going to give you better conversions. You're going to be able to scale it, okay? Because systems can be used. And if you get to the point where you want to bring other people in, you can give those systems to those people and they can then use them. So you are scaling yourself. You are leveraging yourself and your own IP and your own systems. And it's going to give you professional positioning, because clients love it when you don't just write the goddamn copy and hand it over to them, but you show them the data. You say, hey, this is what you're currently doing. Here's why it's not working. And this is what I'm going to do instead, so that we can go and achieve the goal that we want. The clients go, whoa, you really know what you're doing. Okay, cool, let's do it. Okay? So as I've got here, your next steps. Pick one piece of underperforming copy, reverse engineer it using the system, so go and rewrite it again. Okay? After you've been through this 3-step system, rewrite it with the new information and the new perspective that you now have. Publish it and see what happens. Okay? You will be pleasantly surprised. The quality of your copy and the quality of your results is going to drastically improve. And then please make a vow to never write intuitive copy again, okay? Because it's not what we think. This is not a subjective practice. We might think that we've written the best fucking thing ever, and then we publish it and the market tells us that it's not good because it doesn't convert. So we go based off objectivity. What is the data telling me is working? So this is your reality check. You just learned the system that separates amateur copywriters from professional conversion architects. But learning isn't enough. Most people are going to watch this video, feel inspired for about 20 minutes, but then they're going to go back to their old habits and their old patterns and write copy the same way. 5% of you are going to implement this process, and you are going to write better copy, and you're going to generate better results for clients, and then you are going to attract more clients like them and increase the income that you create for yourself. So which group are you? Like, if you're serious about making the shift from just another copywriter to conversion architect that owns revenue systems instead of just owning words, then subscribe to the channel and like this video, because twice a week I share in-depth videos about how copywriters can make that shift, own revenue systems, and become conversion architects that build 6-figure businesses for themselves by writing incredible copy and positioning themselves differently from being just another copywriter. I'll see you on the next video.